What is up, my dogs? Lost in here. Beautiful afternoon. Got my best bud Jacob in the back. So originally we're gonna come out and look for some big old tarpon because Jacob went out this morning already and actually caught himself a very nice tarpon. I'll leave a link down his channel and his video below. You should definitely go check it out. But the wind scooped up a little bit, so now we're in a little more mangrove-y, wind-protected area. Tarpon are still on the menu. We're looking for redfish, snook, trout, floundies, all the basic inshore species we got here in Florida, and hopefully we whack them. All right, here's the dealio. I have the fly rod in hand at the moment. We're pushing across a really, really skinny flat. And the fly rod could be a pretty stealthy approach if you see a redfish or a snook. Currently, Jacob is on the back holding down the sticks, and I'm gonna whip the fly rod around. I don't think we'll do the fly rod all day long. I'm not sure if it works, maybe, but we have a lot of different things that we're gonna be trying to throw at. Redfish right in front of us. I landed right across his back. He's already on us, though. Already saw us, but that's a good sign. They're like
decent one swimming from the right to left, right in front of you.
Oh my gosh, wow, so many reds right here.
There's actually two right there, but that one's decent.
Yeah. Oh, he spooked! What? My shrimp literally pulled right across his face and he spooked. Dude, that was like a 31.
That would be my PB red right there.
Gosh, that's the biggest redfish I have ever seen. Full reds.
Not gonna lie, that was pretty sick.
No, dolphins are so cool, but they're so frustrating.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like literally like the equivalent of if you were out trying to like hunt and you just let a dog loose like through the woods. Like, all right, the water got a bit dirtier and a bit windier where we opened up into this little pocket, so we dropped in the trolling motor so Jacob and I can both fish, and I'm gonna throw a root beer chartreuse paddle tail, the goat. Almost cannot go wrong with throwing this bait in even slightly dirty water to literally absolute chocolate milk. It's just is the best. Got another little one, but we are finally in some fish. Hallelujah. It's not good when they come in ice skating across the top though. Oh my gosh, have you felt the water? It's like a bathtub, dude. It's like a jacuzzi. Monkeys off the back, little 9-inch sea trout. Not at all what we're looking for. I mean, size-wise, not what we're looking for. But to be catching some fish is a big hallelujah, because we've been fishing for about 2.5 hours or so without any bites. Seen some good fish, but just hasn't really come together for us yet. And things might be looking up.
Woo!
Woo!
Wow!
9-inch trout. Woo! Yeah! Can I get a amen?
Celebrate!
Oh, I cannot believe how warm the water is. It's got to be like 92 degrees. What's it say on the thermostat?
96.
96? Oh my gosh! Dude, these poor fish. I have to cook them, man. Just pull them out and eat them. That's insane. These fish's brains must be like bacon inside their head. Tied on a little top water right here. Check, make sure our drag's not too tight. Probably good. Whew, it is unbelievable. Like, I feel like the temperature just dropped like 15 degrees once we got into the shade here. We're gonna probably work some top waters, still use some swim baits, and really target probably mangrove lines, looking for fish that are getting ready to come out of the shade as it gets later and later. We got probably like an hour or so sunlight left to fish. The hard part about summertime fishing, man, is like, oh, there's a fish already. That is tiny, whatever it is.
Trout.
Yeah, there's a little trout. Holy cow. It's insane how much different the water feels right here, dipping my hand in there than it did literally, 100 yards the other direction. Another little trout. Trout are interesting, man. They're like bass to me, where it's like, I couldn't care less about catching like 1 pound bass, but let me catch a 5 pound bass and it's like the coolest thing ever. Like catching a big trout is like,
Yeah,
like you said, do I want to catch a 28-inch trout or a 35-inch redfish? I'd be like, dude, let me see that big trout. Yeah, they do definitely become a whole different caliber of fish once they start getting over like 22 inches, honestly. Gosh, there's no just running at me. Bigger trout, yeah, it just was like flying at me. Jeez Louise. That was nuts. Better trout, way better trout actually. Yeah, he's going hog wild. Sure, why not? Oh, beautiful trout right there, probably 16 inches or so. He'd be a legal one. We're not going to keep any tonight. That is a beautiful fish, and we're finally moving in the right direction. The sun's starting to go down. I think the fish are going to start biting, and hopefully we can whack some big trout, maybe some big reds, some big snook. There's tarpon around. Anything is up for grabs, and I think it's about to go down. Fingers crossed. Oh, that would be why you're going so freaking nuts.
The gill himself.
Yeah, he just swallowed it. Jig head no.
Just now?
Yeah. Well, I was trying to unhook him, and he literally swallowed the whole entire hook and everything while I was actively trying to unhook him. So unfortunately, my buddy's gonna die, but what is great is that he's legal size. So I'm gonna bring him home. I'm gonna brain him and cut his gills out real quick, and we'll keep fishing. A little bit of a bummer, but thankfully he is 16 inches, legal size, so we got dinner. Probably just ruined my Leatherman, but he is gilled and gutted. All right, I just brained the trout, gilled them, and then actually gutted them into the water here, and then wrapped them in a plastic bag and threw them in Jacob's cooler. Oh, not exactly on the game plan, but it's always nice to have a cooler with a little bit of ice in it for that exact reason, I suppose. Well, I think that'll do it for us this evening. It is basically blackout. The camera does a good job making it not look that way. You know what? For it being hotter than Hades out here and us being a couple of suckling pigs out on the water, it felt like. Got a few trout, whether they're small or not, but we got one in the cooler to bring home. I have a 2-hour drive home once we pull the boat out of the water, so I'll be cooking him tomorrow. All right, here's the dealio. It is 12:15 the next day. The trout has been sitting on ice all night over yonder. We still got to fillet him up, but I did bleed him, well, brain him, bleed him, and gutted him while I was out in the water, so the flesh is good. We're gonna make a nice meal here. A little bit of pasta, kind of like a caramelized garlic lemon sauce with some sauteed spinach. It's gonna be great. I'm not really much of a recipe follower. I'm more of a just work from the heart type of person, but I'll try to write down everything and put in the description down below of what I'm doing and how I'm cooking this. I'm very excited. The baby just went down for a nap 15 minutes ago. We got 2 hours to make and eat a beautiful lunch here for my wife and myself. Let's get cooking. First things first, we're gonna put some olive oil in the skillet. Also, if you're wondering why I'm wearing a GoPro on my chest looking like a stupid dork, it's the best way I can record audio because the mic on that camera is broken. So, we're gonna get this olive oil heated up and we're gonna press a few cloves of garlic here. And we're gonna let the garlic get in the olive oil and get nice and brown and sizzly. And we're really just lightly cracking them, lightly pressing them at the moment because this is gonna get actually blended later into our sauce. So right now, actually having more surface area and just having that garlic pressed, and I'm sure you've heard it on cooking shows before, but garlic has a chemical in it, which is called allicin, and that's what gives it that really potent smell and good flavor. So like pressing your garlic and crushing it is what really activates that flavor. Okay, while that is browning here, we're gonna finally slice our onion. Because what I like to do when I make caramelized onions is I will brown some garlic up in a pan with olive oil. Then I will thinly slice the onions, pull the garlic out, throw the onions in. A little bit extra flavor there on top. So we're gonna be cutting our onion from root to stem. I'm not really sure why, like, I don't do a ton of catch and cooks on my channel, and that's probably gonna start changing because truth be told, I absolutely adore cooking. I cook 95% of our meals at home, not because my wife doesn't want to, because I want to do it. And we're gonna try to be cooking a lot more fish coming up this new year and really enjoying the resources we have in front of us and the ability to harvest them. All right, while that's browning, our onions are chopped. Let's see if we can find anything to drink in the fridge. All right, perfect. So our garlic here is starting to get a little light brown, and you don't want to let it go too long because once garlic starts to burn, it gets really bitter. And that's really all we're looking for there, if that'll focus on it. That little light browning. So we're gonna pull this off here. Pull our cloves off before they get too much color on them. And we are going to dump our white onion into the pan. Get it all in there. So caramelizing your onions for a dish like this, super unnecessary. In fact, you could just leave onions out altogether if you want to, but I am just like obsessed with the flavor of caramelized onions, to be honest. It's just one of my favorite things. And this is what's actually gonna take the longest part of this whole entire dish, is caramelizing the onions. But what will be great is that if you were cooking something, which is what I'm about to do right now, I'm getting the onions going, and while they're caramelizing, then I'm gonna fillet my trout and deal with all of that. So it is a good thing to be doing while you clean your fish. So it's a great way to like add a ton of flavor, and we're gonna pinch a ton of salt in there. Add a bunch of flavor to a dish while killing some time while you have to still process your fish. So we're making sure all of the onions are coated in olive oil right there. We're gonna get that a nice spread, last one. And we're just on a medium-low heat right now. Like I'm on a 4 out of 10, if that is a good reference for you there. I find that like caramelizing onions, I don't know. I haven't got it perfect every time, but for the most part, let them sit a little bit, stir them, let them sit, stir them. Word of the wise right here, if you're gonna fillet a fish at home, lay some paper towels beneath your cutting board. And what you can do is if you wet your paper towels, and then lay them underneath your cutting board and just like lightly, you know, get them damp, and then lay your cutting board on top of it, your cutting board won't slide nearly as much. And I can even wet these down a little bit more, but that'll stop your cutting board from sliding around, and will also stop, you know, fish juice spilling on your wife's counter and her getting pissed. We're gonna fillet our trout really quick, and we're gonna take the skin off of this once we get there. Trout do have small enough skin where we probably could just scale it a little bit and serve it with the skin on. It would probably still be pretty good, but we're not gonna mess with that today. Trout are an awesome fish though, man, because they're super accessible from the far west side of Texas all the way up the eastern seaboard. They're just very plentiful. They're everywhere. They're not super hard to catch. They taste super good. The bag limits are really generous, and the size limit and the slot size is honestly really generous as well. I mean, it's just a great fish and something that I definitely want to utilize more. If you're looking for detailed instructions on filleting fish, I'm probably not your guy. I'm very okay at filleting fish. I can get the job done, but you know, I don't do it every single day like some people do. But the best advice I can give to you if you're not that great at filleting fish, or you're just learning how, is get a sharp knife and take your time doing it. That is one of our fillets right there from the trout. It's a great serving for one person, you know, so that's kind of a cool thing. Catch a single trout. It's 16-inch fish, but you can feed 2 people with a 16-inch fish, and that's pretty nice, man. Pot of pasta water coming up to a boil. Put a ton of salt in it. What's up, mama? We're good. You want one?
Yeah.
We're gonna touch up our fillet job here. One of the things about trout that is really nice is that they are a very delicate and smaller fish, and so you know, bones in them aren't really gonna be that big of a deal, and a lot of times you can almost eat around them. I, for the most part, try to pull out what I can to make sure, because sometimes that really just will like get in your brain when you're eating a piece of fish and a bone sticks you in the gum or something like that. It's just an odd feeling. But we're gonna be putting so much flavor in the other parts of this dish that our fish right here, man, we're literally going salt and pepper on it. And then once it comes out, we'll squeeze some fresh lemon juice on it. But we're gonna be cooking it in a really flavorful olive oil that had roasted garlic and now caramelized onions cooking it. And then the trout's gonna be going into that. So we could really over season this fish, and it's so delicate, there's no point to do it. So we're going pretty heavy salt and lightish pepper, and that is all we're gonna put on that for now. All right, our caramelized onions here are getting just about to where they need to be, where they're getting loose and stringy, and you know, you might pull one out and just taste how flavorful and that sweetness that it has to it now. And we are gonna be got our garlic in here already. We're gonna throw our caramelized onions into this little blender bottle, because we're gonna be making a blended sauce that we're gonna mix in with our fish and our pasta, and probably just kind of drizzle it over top, or maybe even toss the pasta in it. So we're gonna pull this out now, and we're gonna keep some of that olive oil with it. I'm not super worried about like draining all the olive oil off, because there's obviously a ton of flavor in there. We want a little bit of a liquid component like olive oil. You could also do this with butter. It would probably taste even better, but just felt like doing an olive oil based dish today. We're gonna juice a lemon into this in a second. But let's get our fish on the skillet here. We're still at a low heat of 4. There's no reason to absolutely freaking steam the crap out of these things here. Like I said, trout are just gentle fillets, so we're gonna lay that in. Left a little skin on that back one. I'm actually looking forward to that. And then we're gonna salt and pepper the back side, because I haven't done that yet. All right, just cut up some fresh lemon right here, and we are going to juice this. I'm juicing some lemons. Okay, we're gonna just start with one for now. I don't want it to be too zesty. So, as the water has come to a boil, tablespoon or so of olive oil in there, and time for our spaghetti. Oh God, spilling everywhere. Make sure this folds down in here. And then we're gonna use some of this pasta water to really bring the whole entire dish and the sauce together, but you shall see. You want a simple but very helpful tip when cooking fish is buying a very thin spatula. Makes all the difference in the world if you're doing a lot of pan searing, which is what I do a ton of. Just having that thin, really fine point spatula will help you get that fish off the pan and get a lot of that color and flavor and crispiness from the pan that you could lose if you just kind of go in with a meaty spatula or even tongs, because you're gonna rip, especially delicate fish like trout, you'll just rip it. Beautiful. Trout's about done here. So we're gonna gently scrape along the underside of the fish and just peel it off this pan. Beautiful. And we're gonna let our fillets rest. Now, Once our trout is out of this pan, the last thing we have to cook really is our spinach that we're gonna saute. And now we're gonna be sauteing our spinach in the exact same pan that we roasted garlic in, caramelized our onions, cooked a trout in, and now we're gonna throw some spinach in there. It's just like saving dishes, and you're just building up so much flavor, in my opinion. If you really wanted to, you could probably, like, the best thing you could do would be to pour some white wine into this pan and deglaze the pan and really get all the trout crust and, you know, caramelized onion bits and roasted garlic stuff like out from the pan. We're gonna pour a little bit of olive oil and just kind of move some of that stuff around, and then pour our spinach in there, and small pinch of salt. We're gonna drop the heat just by a little bit, put it on low heat, and we'll actually cover this with a lid and let that saute. I know some people are probably gonna watch this and be like, wow, you put a lot of salt in your food. But one of those secret how restaurants make your food taste good is that they put a metric buttload of butter and salt into everything you eat. That's about it. Okay. The pasta is almost al dente, so we're gonna pull it off because it's gonna keep cooking. Now, one of the like magical things about pasta, and the reason I wanted to make this dish, because I wanted to make a sauce. Pasta water is like full of starches. After it's been cooked, the pasta's boiled, a ton of the starches come out of the pasta, and this water can basically act as like a thickening, binding agent. So, right here, here's our caramelized onion and garlic puree, but right now it's really a puree, but we need it to become a sauce. Now, I could add white wine to this, I could add some more olive oil to this, but olive oil will be kind of a weird consistency, and that's gonna add a ton of fat like we're talking about. We can use some of our pasta water, and it's gonna make it creamier and bind it all together into an actual sauce. Do this slowly. We don't wanna over water down our sauce, so we're gonna do 2 big serving spoonfuls of pasta water right there. And blend it up. See how this turns out for us here. I squeezed half of a lemon in this thing, and then honestly, I think it's too lemony. All right, now that's really the consistency of like a blended sauce there. It depends what you want to do. If you wanted, you could almost make this a puree and leave it kind of chunky and thick, and it would just be drizzled directly over the fish. But I'm gonna toss all of the pasta in this and the spinach as well. So I wanted it to be a little runnier so we can actually coat. It's also such a potent flavor that if it was just over the fish, it would be really good, but it would be like, whoa, gosh, that's a lot of flavor packed in there. Or if we spread it out over the whole entire dish, I think it'll taste a lot better. So now we're going to toss our pasta. You could drain it out of a strainer if you want to. I'm just gonna pull it directly into the dish. All of the olive oil has basically evaporated out of the pan now at this point, so it's not at risk of like, you know, an explosion from oil and water combining, and the heat's low enough now where it's not a big deal. And a little more of this pasta water is gonna drain off. And like I said, it's gonna incorporate a lot of that sauce. Oh, it smells so ridiculously good. I'll get a rubber spatula in there and make sure we get all that goodness out of there. All right. So I want to put this in perspective right now. Anyone can make this dish right here. 9 ingredients: garlic, onions, salt, pepper, a trout, lemon, olive oil, pasta. Is that 8? What else am I missing? Did I put anything else in this? Spinach. Did I already say spinach? 9 ingredients right there. Obviously the addition of fresh herbs like parsley and maybe some oregano would be really great. I didn't have any fresh herbs, and so if I want to afterwards, while I'm mixing this pasta into the sauce, I could sprinkle in a little bit of, you know, dried parsley and dried oregano and some different Italian seasonings. But this is gonna be great regardless. There we have it. Honestly, I'd give this presentation like a 5 out of 10 solely because everything just looks exactly the same color. But This was 9 ingredients and honestly very shoot from the hip. I didn't go to the store before this. I opened up the fridge and saw that I had a lemon, I had an onion, opened up the pantry, saw that we had some pasta. Great, a meal has been made. And sometimes I think that's the best way to go about cooking. I love doing big, like eccentric meals, but this is something more grounded in reality. And have lunch for my wife and I that came from a trout that came from the river last night. So let's eat. Let's go in for our first test bite here. The trout itself is literally perfect. All right, that is it for me, you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, a little bit of light fishing action and a heavy catch and cook deal. In the future, I really do want to strive to catch more fish, eat more fish, do a lot more foraging, and just getting food from the wild. I have such an awesome opportunity to spend a ton of time outdoors, and I want my friends and my family to be able to appreciate those efforts sometimes. And I love to cook. It's probably one of my favorite things I do. And honestly, I think I've been reluctant to do it on camera because it's kind of my thing. Like, I just love to cook on my own accord, and it's kind of like my way I totally get zen and unwind. But I think it'd be a lot of fun to really cook a lot more fish and try to be a lot healthier too, eating a lot more fish. So if you enjoyed the video, make sure you like, subscribe so you're posted with future videos. I have a Patreon link down below if you want to go support there, because we dropped all of our sponsors on this channel and got rid of that. And so Patreon is the only external support this channel receives anymore. So if you want to support, you get early access to all the videos and it helps me out a ton. That is it for me, you guys. Until the next one.